Thank you for everyone who's joining us. We're just going to give it another second to let some more people come in. Okay, let's get started. So, hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ariana Miller. I am the event planner here at the HIA-LI. I want to thank you for joining us at the 32nd Annual Trade Show, virtual this year. Very exciting, very different. So it's been great to see how well that's been going throughout the day, and I hope you've all been enjoying it. So I want to thank you for coming to this breakout seminar. We have a really great group of women panelists talking about cultivating business connections, leading, mentoring, and networking with confidence. And for our moderator today, we have Sam Law. She is the president and founder of Young Hip Professionals, and she will be moderating for us today. So Sam, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Ariana. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. I'm really excited to introduce to you our following panelists. I'm going to introduce them by their name, their title, and their organization, and they'll tell you a little bit more about it. So I'm going to start with Sue Glenn. She's the owner of Diverse Marketing and Web Design and co-chair of IBWC, the Independent Business Women's Circle.
Hi, everyone.
We also have Beth Mixner. She's the founder and CEO of the Moxie Network. She's the founder and executive director of the Moxie Mentoring Foundation as well.
Thank you, Sam. Moxie is a women's business community comprised of two separate entities. One is Moxie Network, which is a member-based networking group for senior level women. And the other is our nonprofit, Moxie Mentoring Foundation, through which we mentor young women in business ages 18 to 35.
And we also have Rafaelina Cipriano, who goes by Buffy. So today we're going to refer to her as Buffy. And she's the immediate past chair of SWEBEC, the Suffolk County Women Business Enterprise Coalition.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Yes, SWEBEC, long word, right? A long title, is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. Our mission is to empower and connect women-owned businesses throughout Long Island. And we promote, encourage, and support our members to succeed in business through networking and professional development opportunities. So welcome today.
Thank you, Buffy. So we're just gonna get right into it. Our first question is actually for Buffy, and it's, what are the different types of networking groups?
So there are so many different types of networking groups. SWEBEC is a women's networking group. You'll find different types of groups based on ethnicity, gender. There are some according to trade, some according to certain areas where you live in. There are many different types. It's usually great to kind of check out all of them and see which one is a good fit for you.
Anybody on the panel want to follow up and add anything to that?
Yes, I'll add something. There's also types of groups that are industry specific. So if you join them, they only allow one person per industry. And usually those groups have separate chapters. So you may have 10 people in the finance world, but each of those 10 people are in a separate chapter within that group.
All right. So my next question is for Sue. Sue, what is the difference between co-ed groups and women's groups?
So what I find is that the difference between them are, I guess it's actually the atmosphere that's created between men and women. A lot of times groups with all women, which IBWC is considered a women's group, but we, especially since it has a women's, the name women in it, but we don't exclude men from our meetings. So sometimes we have them and I get calls sometimes like, can I come? I'm a man, is that okay? Yes, it is. There's just a different dynamic, I think, between women's groups, and I don't know of many men's groups. I know a lot of co-ed groups and then women's groups. And I think even men realize like there's a different dynamic between women and men when some men come to women's groups, and also when, I don't know how men would actually, I've never been to just an all men's group, but I've, obviously men have been to my group. I mean, I think that most men who network well with women seem to have a lot to offer. They're not just there to make contacts. They really want to make connections. But women's group have a different kind of, I guess, connection because we're more nurturing. We have a more nurturing, instinct. So I would suggest that if you're a woman, obviously, doing both is good. But because if you want to have that dynamic that only women have, then, you should consider joining a women's group. I think if you're a woman, you would know what I'm talking about if I'm sounding a little confusing.
For sure. No, I totally agree. It definitely helps from my experience being a part of a women's group. There's a lot of support that I don't think I would get as, a millennial, if a woman millennial, that I might get from just a co-ed group. I have another question for you, and it's what makes you gravitate towards some groups instead of others?
Yeah, so actually this is sort of like a complimentary question. Again, I think that women's groups are more of connecting in a more personal way. I think there's also a social aspect also in addition to that. And just the way that women work in groups, that specific connection that they have, we are able to, I think, socialize a little bit better. I don't hate to say things like that, but I think that for me, I like to gravitate towards like-minded groups for myself, and also with co-ed groups, I think that getting a referral to a group, if I'm saying, what am I looking for? What are you looking for in a networking group, basically? So for me, I'm looking to connect with people who I can both have a social relationship with and a business relationship, where there are some groups of people only want to conduct business. But I am an extrovert, so I have a very social personality, and I enjoy meeting people who have groups that are less, I guess, strict and restrictive, where I can show my personality more. It's the kind of groups that I gravitate towards.
Okay. Do any of the other panelists want to add to that? Okay, Buffy.
When we join a networking group, most of the times we're not sure what to expect when we get there. So we usually gravitate towards a group that we feel comfortable at. And it's really difficult to figure out which one that will be. So I always tell people, try out a couple of different groups. When I first started networking, HIA was one of the first groups that I joined. And I loved it. I just loved the fact that there were just people from so many different industries there. And I could just share my business with so many different people at one time because they would have large meetings. There were a lot of members. So you kind of gravitate towards an organization or a group that fulfills the common need at that time. When I first started, my goal was to meet as many people as possible. So I wanted to go to a larger group where I would have more exposure. And then as you grow your business, other needs come into place and you tend to gravitate towards other groups that can fulfill that need. So we're always growing.
If I may piggyback on that, Buffy makes a good point, because sometimes you join groups based on what your needs are at the time. I mean, I've been networking for years, and I used to belong to a group that I knew I wasn't really going to get any business from, but it was a great place for me to go and relax and to meet like-minded women and to develop the friendships. So I went there all the time just because it fulfilled a different need, knowing that I wasn't going to get so much business. However, in hindsight, years later, some business did come through from it, but it just took much longer.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to another question. I want to ask the full panel this question because it pertains to what we're all going through right now, the coronavirus pandemic. How has the coronavirus pandemic impacted networking events?
I'll take that. Both with our Moxie Network and Moxie Member Mentoring Foundation, obviously everything is virtual. We are an event-based organization, both of them. So all of our Moxie Network events are now virtual. We used to have 2 monthly lunches, one in Woodbury and one in Riverhead with guest speakers. Now everything is virtual. Same with our mentoring programs. We mentor college girls, and because of Corona, many of the girls cannot return to their Long Island campus. So we're actually going to be virtually mentoring them from their home country. One is from Kazakhstan and one is from Guyana. So it's actually very exciting for us this year. We've been able to, that's word, pivot, and really transform ourselves into more of a international virtual mentoring group. So for us, it has been good because we're small and very pliable, and we can move very quickly because we don't have a lot of overhead behind us.
Right.
Yeah. And, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, that's fine.
Oh, so the Independent Business Women's Circle, I didn't get to say who we are. We're an all volunteer run group, and we are a small scale. We're considered an intimate group. And it was actually the very first group that I joined when I was in independent capacity for a larger company. And we got together because the woman who started the group was an author, and she never got out during the day. And working from home, we wanted to have people who had the same ideas, but just to get together in like a lunchtime, like social atmosphere. And that's how our group is. So we're small, and we had originally, our meetings are the second Tuesday of each month from 12 to 2, and we'd enjoy lunch together. And since the pandemic, we hadn't really thought about what to do, and we just automatically said, let's connect more often. So instead of once a month, we were actually meeting twice a week, but just for a half an hour virtually. And we started out having simple round robins and just getting to talk basically socially, but we would also go do the round robin and, you know, do like a quick elevator pitch. And since then we've gone from 2 times a week to 1 time a week to now we're doing 2 times a month. So we're having a regular meeting virtually on the second Tuesday, and then on the 4th Tuesday we have another meeting, which is a program, like one of the members will do a program related to, you know, marketing or sales, or any capacity of business.
Okay. Buffy, I know you had your hand raised to discuss how you've pivoted during the pandemic.
That's my special word, pivot. It's so important that we all did that during this pandemic. One thing I like about the virtual world is people have no excuses. You know, sometimes when you have to go to an in-person meeting, you say, oh, I can't leave the office. I don't want to get up too early. You have no excuse when it comes to virtual. And, you know, it could be a little daunting at first, but as you continue to visit different virtual meetings, you get comfortable. And I think it's a great, great opportunity because there are so many meetings available now. You have meetings that run early in the morning, meetings that run late at night. So if you really want to get your business to the next level, it's so important that you do take advantage of all these virtual networking meetings. You meet so many different people. You can join meetings that are in other states. You know, some people have the type of business that we don't just do business in New York. So it would be so hard, and, you know, it would have been hard in the past to attend a networking event that was in another state. Now you have no excuse. So I think it's amazing what we have at our hand during this pandemic.
I would definitely agree. I know I've been blessed with the ability to speak on a panel in Colorado, which was really interesting, all from my bedroom. You know, it's pretty cool how we've transitioned and been able to work past a very, you know, difficult circumstance. This, which also leads into my next question, and it's for Beth. Beth, how do you dress for a networking event? And to dig a little deeper, Zoom versus in person?
Well, no matter what it is, you always have to be dressed professionally, 100%. I'm amazed at all the business events I've come on Zoom and how people look so disheveled, looking like they just crawled out of bed, not even a hair combed through their hair. It's just, it's very upsetting to me because it is a professional atmosphere that we're doing. So always professional. If you're on Zoom, actually in the very beginning, when our very first webinar, we brought in a fashion consultant who told us exactly how to dress for a webinar. So one of the things that she suggested is, no matter what color you are, you know, summer, winter, fall, spring, right? We always know those colors. Jewel tones look good on everybody. And a jewel tone is a saturated color, such as where I'm wearing a cobalt blue blazer right now. So something like that. You never want to wear animal prints. You never want to wear stripes or zigzags or any kind of geometric pattern. If you have a beige wall behind you, you don't want to wear a beige shirt. If you're a woman, obviously, well, first of all, we discussed before, the view should be above your chest, right? Never below. You never want to wear clanky jewelry. It is difficult for us because all of us wore glasses. I just took my glasses off because there was a reflection. So, but if you're blind as a bat, sometimes you can't take your glasses off. You know, you have to do what you have to do. But it's very important that you look professional. And when you're on a Zoom, I think that you still must be professional from the waist down, because too many times I've seen people get up to pick up a piece of paper or something, and they look great from the waist up, and then they have crazy pajama pants on. And it's very incongruous, and it's not a good look. Additionally, I've seen so many people, and this is really more for women, who reach for something, and all of a sudden, the only thing you see on the camera is the woman's chest. And so it's very important to be able to know that you have everything, have your hairbrush there, have your lipstick, have your water at hand, so you never really have to get up. And if you do, it's best to always turn the camera off, even for 30 seconds, and do what you have to do, and then come back. But 100% always, always professional. And for virtual, you must be in the center of the screen, which we all are. So I think we're all doing a great job.
Anyone want to add to that?
Just quickly, once once you stop your video, and I know we had talked about this before, you should have a picture that, I don't know what it's called, but when you stop your video, there's a picture of yourself. You should have your bio picture or a professional picture that shows up when you do stop your video. And also make sure that when you leave, you also put your microphone on mute.
And if I may add one thing also, for in-person events, which we haven't been to in so long, and we may not, but I've seen too many people, even if they work in a very casual environment, if you're going to a networking event, that doesn't mean you can still be casual when you're dressing like that. We don't want jeans and sneakers. Everybody's wearing a suit or a very nice blazer or a dress. So you have to present yourself in the way that people will respond to you. I don't want to see some person wearing jeans and sneakers when everybody else is dressed up. It to me says it's a little disrespectful, or maybe they were unaware of what type of event they were going to. So always dress professionally, no matter what your work environment requires.
Buffy, you had your hand up. You
I
wanted
was
to
just
add
going to
something?
remind everyone exactly what Sue said. And to piggyback on Beth, you have one time to make a first impression, right? And that goes for Zoom as well.
Absolutely. Speaking of first impressions, Buffy, how do you prepare for an in-person networking event versus Zoom event? And I know we just discussed fashion, but I mean, like getting your personality together, what should you bring? Like, how do you prepare for that?
Sometimes, well, let's talk about in-person. You know, when you go to an in-person event, first of all, you have to make sure you have your business cards. You know, what are you going to wear? Like Beth said, there's so many things that happen before you get there. If you don't have business cards available at that time, maybe you ran out or something, have something to give out to someone. You are there to network. So make sure you have all your, your tools in your tool belt. That's number one. And dress for success. Also with the Zoom, practice beforehand. Turn on your camera, see how you look, check out your background. We have to prepare before we do anything. There might be someone there that will be a future client. So you want to make the best impression on them before. So I always say practice makes perfect. If you're nervous, maybe you want to bring a friend. There's so many different tricks of the trade, but you need to make sure you have the right tools on you.
Absolutely. Beth or Sue, would you like to add to that?
Just quickly, I was going to mention, Beth has Moxie Network behind her, so she's doing some branding, on her Zoom. So I know some people also like to put a screen behind them with their logo, But if you do that, you just want to make sure that visually it's prepared properly. I know a lot of times you need to have a green screen to make it work. But sometimes like people will go in and out of the green screen and you'll see like just part of their face, or they'll be like, you know, cut off, or gives like an alien kind of a look. So if you can have your logo, or if you can blow up your logo into a frame like Beth does behind her, that's also something that's good to do.
I like that idea. Beth, did you want to add?
No, but thank you for noticing, Sue.
Well, look at Sam's shirt also. Sam's
Yeah, I
shirt.
make sure I don't like the alien look going in and out of the green screen unless it's for some reason it's required. It's just simpler to put on like a branded shirt and make sure it sits right in the frame.
Very nice.
Thank you. So Sue, being that, you know, I'm new to networking, relatively new. I've been at it for the last year or so. What's some advice would you give to someone like me, to a new networker?
Okay, so I've been networking for about 20 years already. So I'm dating myself and aging myself. But actually, like I said, IBWC was the first group that I felt that I joined, because there really were only like 5 of us, which was perfect. I really got to know everybody on a personal level. So it depends on you know, what you're looking for. I would say to first ask other colleagues or friends of yours for referrals. Like, what kind of networking do you think I should do, based on knowing who that person is. Getting a referral from someone else who is a resource, who can help you to figure out like what networking groups might work for you. And then do some research and go to the websites of each group and see a little bit about them, and go and find out who some of the members are. This way you're prepared, so that when you go to the event, you can put a face to the name, and you can do actually like intentional networking. You know, you're not going to be able to meet everybody, but go and figure out who it is you want to work with, or just meet or connect with that first time. So I would suggest that do the research beforehand, before you ever get, you know, to the event in person or even on Zoom. Do the research, you know, beforehand.
Beth or Buffy, you want to add?
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think for a young person, I know a lot of young people get poo-pooed by the more seasoned people, because if you're intentional or strategic, as I refer to a networker, you know, we're there for an hour and a half or whatever the time is. I want to make sure that my time is spent well. I'm not at the house. I'm out of the house. I did my hair. I did my makeup. I want to make this 90 minutes count. So I'm going to be very strategic. So what I do, and I would encourage every person, particularly a young person, always befriend the organizer and the people at the registration table. I actually ask the people at the table, can I take a look at your attendee list? And I will scan the list and look for people and companies that I want to connect with that night. So it's very important. If you're a young person, there's nothing wrong with asking questions and advice for the seasoned people. People love to help. I think particularly women love to help other young women. So ask for help, ask for advice. Everybody wants to feel that you're respecting them enough that you value their opinion. So ask them, can they make you a connection? It's my first time here. I don't really know anybody. Would you be able to introduce me to 1 or 2 people here? People love that. They like to help.
Absolutely. I find that for sure. And that kind of got us to one of our questions. You kind of brought it up, right, rolled right into it. Beth, as a master networker, what are some additional pieces of advice you'd give to my generation when networking with senior level networkers?
Well, you've got to perfect your pitch. That's number 1. And look professional. You don't want to look like a kid. Even if you're 22 years old, you don't want to look like you're 22 and act like them. You have to dazzle them with your poise and your confidence, and share what great things that you or your company does. You have to come prepared, armed, as Buffy said, armed with stories of success for either yourself or your company. So if you're there representing and networking for your company, you're going to share stories, success stories of the company. If you're there networking for yourself, maybe you're in transition, you're looking for a job, well, then you're going to share success stories about yourself and what you can do.
Mm.
So you've got to perfect your pitch, and you've got to have several different pitches depending on who your audience is. But ask questions and ask advice for people.
Awesome. Thank you. Buffy, you had your hand up?
Yes, I love that. Yeah. But I have to tell you, I'm so impressed by the new networkers, let's call them the millennials, whatever you like to call them. They're really impressive to me. You guys have great attitudes. You have accomplished so much at such a young age. So, you know, give yourself a pat on the back. Don't be intimidated by going into a room where you don't know anyone. You have the goods. So just be a little confident. And I love what Beth said, you know, when you walk in, introduce yourself to the people at the desk, the people that are part of the organization, because their role is to make the new members feel comfortable when they do come in. So I know that, you know, as a person who's on the board of, you know, SWEBEC, we make sure when we see new faces that we approach them. So people are there for the same reason. Remind yourself, we're all there to do business with each other. So it's not like you're walking into a room and, you know, everyone has this as their first line of business and you have that. No, we're all there for the same reason. We're all there to make connections. So don't be intimidated by anyone in that room. They're there for the same reason you are. And, you know, you have something to offer the same way everyone else does. Sometimes you have to remind yourself of why you're there.
And actually, the younger generation can teach us. When we talk about mentoring, we tell our mentors, no, don't be surprised, mentors. You're going to learn something from your young mentee. There's such a thing called reverse mentoring. Jack Welch pioneered the concept of reverse mentoring years ago, back in the 1980s when he was in charge of GE. He reached out to his 500 of his top executives and instructed them to go out into the company and find themselves a 20-year-old mentor. And he credits his 26-year-old female mentor for getting him hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers on social media.
Wow.
So the young generation is very good with social media, obviously technology, and enthusiasm. Sometimes we get, you know, a little old in the tooth, long in the tooth, but we need that constant. It's like a harbor when there's no fresh water coming in, right? You always need that fresh water coming in. Otherwise, things get stale. So walk in with knowing that you're going to give the gift of something to somebody else. And also keep in mind when you're asking questions and advice, you also may find a future mentor in that person.
I think when I go to networking events, I'm always on the prowl for that, you know, and I've had some great success. And it's not only just for like one thing, it's for multiple things. Somebody's good at something, like you said earlier, what you need. You have needs when you walk into certain networking groups, and they help and they get you to that next step. So that's powerful advice. And it rolls into the next question, because this was brought up. The elevator pitch. What is it, and how do you craft a 30 to 60 second elevator pitch? Beth, would you like to take that question?
Sure. I always picture it like this. If you're at an event and you're giving out a business card, people are collecting a lot of business cards. They go back to their office and maybe they're entering them in their database. And when you look at that business card, all of a sudden, you're playing back like a 30-second TV commercial of that person, right? How did they interact with you? What were they wearing? What was their aura? What was the image? Was it a professional image? Were they talking too much? What was the body language like? They're playing back a commercial. So in order to determine what your pitch is, think about what it is that you want to be remembered for. And if you think about that, then you backpedal and you figure out, all right, I want to be known for this, so that's what my pitch is going to say. Think about how you want to be remembered and viewed as a professional, and then you can determine it. And of course, you have to have different pitches for each audience. If I'm speaking to women, I'm going to say something different than if I'm speaking to men. If I'm speaking to an audience of men, and I start talking about women and mentoring and young girls, I'm going to lose them. In the first 5 seconds, their eyes are going to glaze over. So I have to say something to bring them back in. So, and everybody likes to laugh. So I usually say, I know, gentlemen, I know what you're thinking, women, but let me tell you, One of our mottos at Moxie is Moxie loves men. In fact, I married a man, so we love them. And then, usually you get a chuckle, and I'll go further and I say, in fact, we love men so much, I went back and I married a second man. So now they're like, wow, all right, so she's not a woman's libber, she's not anti-men. So I've brought them back into my conversation. So it's very important to be prepared and armed with different pitches for different audiences.
Does anyone else want to add to that? Go ahead, Buffy.
So it should be about 30 seconds, not too long. I've seen where people come into a room and when it's their time to speak, they go on for like 2 minutes. So 30 seconds. Who are you? What does your company do? And something that grabs their attention. I like when people ask questions. Sometimes people use statistics, jokes, okay? And just practice your pitch and change it up every once in a while. So it's, new, because sometimes you'll bump into the same people at different events. So maybe you put a little, change on it.
That makes sense. Sue?
I just, there's 3 elements I think that you can break down into one sentence is, who do you help? Like, who's your target market? Who do you help? How do you do it? How do you help them? And what they'll get from your help. If you can wrap that up in 30 seconds, you're good to go.
Awesome. I went to a networking event recently and I had to craft an elevator pitch. I'm like, what I'm saying is too long. I wish you ladies were there to help me. This is such great advice. So real quick, there are some questions in the chat. So we're gonna save the questions. We want to get to your questions. We're not ignoring them. We're just gonna save them till about 4:05 so we can address them. But there are some questions in the chat that we don't want to miss. We have a few more questions to go. I think we'll make it through, and then we'll get to your questions in the chat. And we're gonna just roll through. Sue, how do you make a new person feel comfortable at a networking event?
Okay, this is my favorite thing. When I'm going to a networking event, I usually will stand back and watch a little bit first because I want to help the people who are new. And I can always tell somebody who's coming in who's new because, they look around, they're not sure where to go. They have a, that veil on them that says, this is my first time or first time here. So I'll usually walk right up to them and ask them, is this your first time here? And they're happy to say yes, because that they want that help. And before I ask them even what they do, I'll say, let me introduce you to the host. So Beth was saying that before, let them know who's hosting the event. But remember, the host is usually the most welcoming person. So you definitely want to introduce them. Plus, the host is usually will mention, somewhere during the meeting to say, we have someone new. Or if the host is speaking to the person, they get to know them, they can actually do the introduction for them if that person is a little shy since it's their first time. So that's what I'll usually do at an event. I've done that at Sweetback where we register at the front and a lot of new people are coming in before they even walk into the room. And, it even says on their registration, this is your first time here. So I might look at that and see the person, check it off and go up to them. But in my own networking group, I know who's new, so I'll go right up to them. I'll excuse myself from someone who I know or I'm talking to and is a regular, and I'll say, I see someone new, and I make sure that I go over to them and let them know who I am and introduce them to, to people who I think that they're looking for after I ask them, who they are, a little bit about them, because I want to know, and how they found out about the group. And if they say I was referred by someone and I know that person is coming, I could say, oh, that so-and-so is going to be here. I'll be happy to sit you next to them if you like, and make sure there are other people too that they can converse with so they can get to know other people. So yeah, making someone feel comfortable is really important when you don't know how they're going to react to this new environment for them.
Would any of the other panelists like to add to that?
Well, I love when new people come because it's a new energy in the room. And like Sue said, you do recognize the new people in the room. So it is really important for you as an old networker or someone who has been at that group meeting before to approach that person and introduce yourself. first of all, if you are the new person, keep in mind that people do want to meet you. It's new blood in the room. So, be confident with that, and, feel confident to go up to someone and introduce yourself. But I think it's so important for anyone who attends a networking event to make sure you look out for that new person. Walk up to them, introduce them to other members that you know. I was in a sorority when I was in college, and we would do this bumping thing where we would bring the new person into the fold, introduce them to someone else, and one of us would walk away, and then the other person would move on with that person. So we would help them work the whole room. So it's really important that you do welcome the new people.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Beth, anything you want to point out?
Never sit at an empty table.
Mm-hmm.
Never. First of all, it's really, if you're going to be uncomfortable sitting there hoping and praying that somebody comes and joins you. And what if happens, sometimes they have so many tables and they're not filled. Are you going to sit there the whole time by yourself? Never sit at an empty table. Always just go to a table that's at least half full and say, may I join you? I'm new here. May I join you? Unless that table is reserved, of course they're going to welcome you. So, a lot of people are introverts. We three ladies are not. We're very extroverted. Sam, I think you're a little both. You say you're not so social, but you certainly appear it because you're very poised for a young woman. So
Thank you.
I actually think that introverts are wonderful networkers because they look at things differently. They have a different personality. They're very observant, and they're probably a little more strategic than I am. They like to sit back and observe everything and kind of figure out what's going on. They can be very good networkers for you because you can bounce ideas off them, and they prefer smaller groups. So you can have maybe deeper conversations with them. And because they're a little more strategic and cerebral, they may think about things that we as, social networkers would not. So definitely embrace the introverts. And I would say that a few great connections are much better than a whole bunch of so-so connections.
Mm.
That leads me to my next question. Is there ever too many connections? Yes, no, maybe.
I would say no. Just keep in mind, if you're keep enlarging your circle, and those people are expecting something from you, you're going to disappoint them. So there's nothing wrong with knowing too many people, but how many close friends can we actually handle and pay attention to in the right way? So be careful. The more people I know, the better. Aren't we all out there doing social media? How many connections do we have on LinkedIn and everything else? That's why we do social media. But as far as real true connections that you're planning on doing business with, sometimes it takes years to cultivate. And that's just a matter of common sense, of knowing which ones are the ones that were worthwhile.
Sue, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I not that I go around collecting business cards, but I mean, I have thousands of them. And the reason why I make some quick connections is because I'm a resource. A lot of people will ask me, Sue, you know everybody, who do you know who this? Or, someone at this networking group. I usually always know someone at some networking group. So I use myself as a resource to connect people. So I have their cards, and then I can, I have them categorized, and then I can give somebody a name or a number. But like Beth said, it's making a few deep connections, but casting the wide net to use as a resource for other people who are looking for help.
Wow, that's powerful. Buffy?
There's no such thing as too many connections, but you have to make sure you use them right. I've seen people take everyone's card and not follow up with them. A trick that I like to tell people is once you get the cards, go on LinkedIn and link up with them. There's actually a feature where if you're in the same room with them, you can link in with the people in the room. Take advantage of that so that you can put a face to the name. Because that's the hardest part. Sometimes you're like, there was a person that sold widgets and I really need that widget and I don't know who it is. So you have to also make notes on your cards too. I always suggest that. So if you're taking if someone's exchanging cards with you, make a note. Oh, this was the person that had the really great smile, made me feel really comfortable. Just make little notes on the back so that when you do follow up and you do, set up that coffee appointment and you're, having that discussion, before you get there, you're reminded of who that person is. We want to remind ourselves who that person is by looking at their LinkedIn profile and by looking at the notes you wrote to yourself on the back of the cards.
Yeah, I have the worst memory, so I always write like as soon as I meet them and before I go and I know I want to talk to them again. Before I go to the next person, my memory, is not so great. So I immediately turn it over and write whether maybe brown hair or beautiful eyes, whatever it is. So I do remember them as well. So that's a great tip.
All right, so we're at our last few questions, and I'm gonna open this question to everybody again. What is one strategy that worked for you when you started networking? Buffy?
So before I started networking, well, I always networked, but I was on the other side. So I used to be an office manager in a law firm for 22 years. So I would network with colleagues of mine who were in the same business and we would share ideas. But there would be certain events where we would have our vendors attend and they were networking so that we would do business with them, okay? So I remember I would do business with people I trust who seemed, when I met them for the first time, I really felt I could trust them. They would really do what was best for me as the client. So now that I'm on the other side where I am selling something, I try to keep that in the back of my mind. Me as a customer, what do I want from the person I'm doing business with? So when you're approaching the room, just keep that in mind. Be authentic, be you, and be reminded that treat the person the way you would want to be treated.
Yeah, I'd love to say something. So if you like the group and you want to make a more of an impression or get into a deeper level, I would say join a committee, join the board, become a speaker, do a presentation, commit to the group. Don't commit to too many if you can't make those deep connections. You want to just choose a few and, you can attend some groups for certain things and then be more strategic with other groups in making that bigger impression. And people will remember you if you stand out more by making more of an impact in that group.
Beth, you want to add?
Be yourself. I think Buffy said that. Be authentic, be yourself. Show your personality. Nobody wants to see a tin soldier. Nobody wants a Debbie Downer. Nobody wants to hang out with a gloomy Gus, right? You want to hang out with people that are fun, that are smiling. Body language is particularly important. You want to be there. If you're committed to going, whether it's online or in person, bring your whole self, bring your whole personality and put yourself out there. I don't care if you're having a miserable day. For that half an hour or 90 minutes, do it. Just be there for somebody else, because who wants to hang out or do business with somebody that's like depressed or seems nasty or just is unhappy? There's too many wonderful, happy, helpful people in the world to do business with nasty people or even to waste time with them, quite frankly. People want to hang out with fun, nice, warm, welcoming people who are smart, like us.
Right,
exactly.
Right. Especially after like a long day of work or just like a rough day before lunch. They want to be with people that uplift their spirit for sure.
Right. People remember how you made them feel, right?
So we're at our last questions.
Right.
Yeah. They don't remember. They may not remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
How do you know you're leaving a good impression at a networking event?
Oops, repeat that. Beth was still talking.
Sorry.
Sam, can you hear me? Oh, yeah, just that Beth was talking, but I guess you must not have heard her. Uh-oh. Sam?
She said, how do you know you're making a good first impression?
That's a good question.
So we really don't know if we're making a first good impression. We just hope we are. And that's why it's so important to be authentic. Like Beth said, make people feel good. when they meet you. Let them know that they can trust you. You know, especially when we're networking, you want people to come back. So you want the environment to feel comfortable and inviting.
And if they do follow up with you, obviously you made a good impression. If you email them after and you don't hear back, and then you email them after again, and you're not trying to sell them on anything, and they still don't get back to you, well, they're either not that great a person or professional, or they just were not impressed by you. But if they do get back to you or make the first move, then you know that you did something right.
Yeah, and also like usually at the beginning people do a little bit of networking, then there's a program, and at the end you can make connections at that point. So if somebody comes up to you afterwards and says, you know, I like what you said, or I agreed with this, or I connected with you in this way, and then they come up afterwards, then that's also a way to figure out if you made a good impression before you actually leave. You can actually figure that out too.
And if you know, don't be afraid of not making a good impression, because Beth, sometimes I've heard people say, oh, I reached out to this person and they didn't get back to me. Sometimes it might be the other person as well. So we don't want someone to feel bad about themselves. So at that point, try again. You know, maybe you didn't make a good first impression because you were nervous. Maybe there was something on your mind that day. You know, don't get in your own head. But just be yourself, authentic, and you will make a good impression. I'm yet to see a person who did not make a good impression. You can tell if someone's nervous. Just don't talk too much. You know, give people some respect. You know, the same saying, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to networking events where, you know, you're trying to have a conversation with someone and it's them, and you walk away and you're like, I didn't even get to introduce myself. Skip that. So if you listen to the other person, if you genuinely cared, you made a great impression.
Yeah, always ask about the person first before you start talking about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So the final question is, and for the panel, what do you do after the event to maintain connections and build relationships? Go ahead, Buffy.
So, you know, usually follow up with maybe coffee. Coffee's, you know, cheap, simple, or now with Zoom, make a phone call and have a conversation, or send them an email saying, I would love to do a Zoom session with you one-on-one to see how we can work together. It's all about collaboration. And another thing I like to remind people is sometimes people assume that they cannot do business with someone. Well, there's no way I'm going to be able to do business with them. Well, that's wrong. When you're networking, you are not only doing business with that person, you're doing business with their network. Okay. So I might be able to refer someone to Beth. Okay. Maybe I can't help Beth, but I know someone who would love to work with Beth. So not only are you networking with that person, but you're networking with that person's contacts as well. So be reminded of that. So don't just say, nope, I'm not gonna be able to work with that person.
Awesome. Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think that use all the touch points. You know, use social media to keep in touch. If you text someone, they don't text you back. Maybe they're not good. They're not, you know, the type of person who likes to do texting. Maybe they like emails. Some people will call me. I prefer email, but you know, if they call, I'll call them back. But I'm not that great at calling them back 5 minutes later as I will, you know, send an email 5 minutes later. Mm-hmm. So try different touch points. Don't just do the same thing. Don't email them 2 or 3 times. If they don't answer the first email, try the phone call, try the text, do Facebook Messenger, do DM on Instagram. You know, there's so many ways, you know, do your connections on LinkedIn. There's like 20 touch points, you know, that you can use it with today's technology. So just reach out in whatever way that you can. And remember, everybody has a different way that they like to be connected to. So once you figure that out, then, you know, if I like to get text, then the person knows that we'll have a texting relationship.
Right. Okay. Anyone, Beth, you want to add?
No, I think the ladies did a great job.
Awesome. Okay, so we're done with the question and answer portion of our panel. I just want to open it up to our attendees quickly for a few questions. We have till about 4:15. I also want to thank the panelists, Rafalina, Beth, and Sue, for your amazing, amazing advice. I've learned so much today. I'm sure everyone else did. I'm ready to get back out there virtually or physically, whichever, one is permitted during this time and in the future. So thank you for that. I have a few comments in the chat. I'm going to read some of the comments. So this comment, I guess, occurred when we were talking about dress from Mary. She says, I wear dresses and or blouses and dress slacks to gigs and meetings, but I go to gigs, both live and virtual, where the band members are wearing jeans, sneakers, and t-shirts. It doesn't seem to be affecting them negatively, as they are talented and get plenty of gigs and publicity, much more than me. Most are men, though. Anyone have a comment or a response to that?
I'll tackle that one, at least start. Women are judged much more harshly than men by both women and men. It's a fact of life. It's never really going to change. Women are judged more on beauty than men. I mean, let's face it, ladies, if we're going to an event and a man's putting on a suit, you don't know what's underneath that blazer. But God forbid we're wearing a skirt or something that's a little too tight, we're getting judged. Is our skirt, are we wearing a skirt that's too long or too short? Are we wearing flats or heels? Are we wearing enough makeup or too much makeup? Are we wearing not enough jewelry or too much dangly jewelry? I mean, we are really judged by our appearance much more, because women are supposed to be, the beautiful sex. And so we're judged that way, which is really unfair. But we're judged that way by both men and women, which is very sad.
Yeah, I felt that. I never know what's enough or not. Yeah, my background is in modeling too, so I try to balance it, but it's not easy. Sue, you wanted to add to it? No?
Oh, just have my hand. Just resting.
Yeah,
listening to all the insights.
Buffy.
One tip is just make sure you feel comfortable. We can say what we want to say about how you should dress, but you should feel comfortable. So if she had said she wore black slacks with a shirt, that's fine, especially if you feel comfortable. Sometimes, I don't want to go into an environment and not feel comfortable, because if I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to be on my game that day. So that's why we're just, stressing that, because we want you to feel comfortable. When you're walking into the room, you're making a first impression. We want you to have that confidence. And sometimes by putting on that makeup and wearing the right outfit, you have that confidence when you're walking into the room.
What do they always say? It's better to be overdressed than underdressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. True. So Brian said that he totally agrees, and the ideas presented by all were terrific.
Thank you, Brian. Brian.
Megan said, since the networking is not in person now, what are some groups that are great to be a part of?
Well, the HIA, for one, is a lot. There's a lot of members. I mean, there's 800 members maybe. So I would start with the HIA.
And of course, I would say Moxie Network, because I will have to put a plug in us. We have been voted #1 network by Long Island Business News Reader Rankings for 4 consecutive years. So we are very proud of that. Even though we are not a big group like HIA, we are small but mighty.
Oh, I'd like to tout our group, because we were just nominated for Best of Long Island, IBWC. So we're under bestoflongisland.com, and you can vote for us daily under services and best networking group. So that's very exciting for us.
And the same with Sweetback. We won plenty of awards, and we are the oldest networking organization on Long Island, women's networking organization, 30 years. We've been having great Zoom sessions the second Thursday of the month. We have over 60 members that are attending. We have over 1,000 members. So they're all groups, all 3 groups here, and HIA are fantastic organizations. We all belong to the HIA. We love the HIA. I used to be co-chair of the membership committee at HIA. Just go out there and just get on Zoom.
Sweetback's having a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
Awesome. I guess I should shameless plug, right? If you're a millennial and you're into yoga, my charity, Young and Professionals, we're having a yoga event. It'd be a good time to network with some of the millennials out in Suffolk County. So, and it's critical. It's critical. You just got to do it. It's the only way to. It's one of the major ways to grow and glow, as I would say. So our next, someone made a comment about
Young at heart too, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's no age really. Our demographic is 8 to 48. But everyone can come and have fun. I mean, who doesn't need yoga? Just come out. You can find it on our page. I'm gonna go back to the comments and questions. Mary said that sometimes she does have trouble like trying to look good in Zoom. It's not necessarily easy, but she gets it done. Brian said, would you think someone new to networking is better talking about their why if they don't have a success story yet?
Definitely. I mean, you have to talk about something. So talk about why you're here, why you're in this company, why you're in this industry. One of my favorite books is Start With Why. I don't know if anybody's ever read it. But it's a wonderful book, and you've got to talk about something. But again, go unarmed. Have a few stories in your pocket that you can throw out depending on what people ask you.
All right, so we're at the 5-minute mark. It's 5 minutes till we close. I'm gonna get to this question because it's been asked twice. Can someone give an example of an elevator pitch?
I think we all can.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Beth, you want to start?
Sure. I actually think that you should have a 10-second pitch, and then a 30, and then a 60. Keep it, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, as if you are speaking to a second grader. So I always say, hi, I'm Beth Meixner with 1 X, and I run Moxie with 2 X's. We are a women's business community, and we mentor young women. Done.
Like it.
Yes, very good.
Do you want to do yours?
Yeah, so mine is for my business. I have a web design and marketing business, and I usually tell people that, and I specialize in something, so this is how I do it. I usually say, I help small business owners boost their business by teaching and implementing email strategies that move their prospects to take action.
Oh, I like that. And Buffy?
So I have 2. So I will do my pitch for SWEBEC. So my name is Rafaelina Cipriano, and I am a member of SWEBEC. We are the longest networking organization on Long Island. We meet on the 2nd Thursday of the month. Attend one of our meetings and find out what all the buzz is about. You can visit our website at www.scwbec.org.
Nice. I guess I'll throw mine in. So for example, for the millennials. So my name is Sam Law. I'm the president and founder of Young Hip Professionals, Inc. And we use the powers of entrepreneurship and networking to enhance the quality of life of the rising generation in at-risk communities.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Lots of meaning in that.
Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and thank everyone for attending. Thank you to our panelists for your amazing advice. It was much needed. I'm sure everyone walked away learning something from each and every one of you. I know I did. I learned a lot. And thank you to HIA for hosting us and allowing us to share what we love to do. Go ahead, Beth.
If I could just put one of my shameless plugs in, we are a nonprofit where we mentor young women in college. We provide them with full scholarships. We're having a fundraising event called the Emerald Summit on October 23rd. The tickets are only $25 and up. So please sponsor us, moxiementoring.org. We would appreciate the support for younger women.
One more. And make sure you visit the speed networking at HIA, because that's a great way to get out there and network.
Yeah, in a few minutes.
And we have one at 4:30.
Exactly, I'm going.
Great question, Sam. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Fantastic. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.